Hello, I'm Rico Cavilla. Welcome to Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive difference in the world. And so this is going to be a really unique show. This is something we haven't talked about or covered in any of my podcasts or shows. So the title of today's show is Advanced Sound Healing with Meta Mindful Music. So we're going to learn all about this. And so my expert guest, his name is Richard Gold. He's been practicing and teaching acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine for over 45 years. He said he has always used music to help create a healing environment during his treatments and in his classrooms. But starting about 20 years ago, he began to use binaural beats to facilitate and deepen the personal meditation, his personal meditation practice. And he found that music available in this realm to be seriously lacking in musicality and composition. So he teamed up with composer Yuval to create meta mindful music, and we're going to find out all about what that's all about. So, Richard Gold, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, Rico. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Well, uh, well, in your bio there, we talked a little bit of already. I mentioned, how you got involved with wanting to use music, but why don't you just talk a little bit about sound healing and what it is and how it came about and how sound can actually heal.
Well, sound healing is a very ancient tradition. We see it in indigenous cultures all over the world. What's happened in recent times with the advent of functional MRIs is we can see what's happening specifically in the brain of individuals. We know empirically that we can feel more relaxed and maybe even raise our consciousness or feel more spiritually attuned when we use sound. And it could be music, could be drumming, and it could be anything that's really affecting the auditory canal. But with functional MRI, we can actually see, and with other scientific instrumentations, we can actually have very specific measurements. And what's really remarkable now is the benefits for the brain. Um, Research that's been done at Harvard shows that meditators, that the brain volume and the gray matter of the brain increase if we meditate for 40 minutes a day for 40 days. And now there's even breakthrough, absolutely cutting edge research coming out of MIT of the benefit for the brain in using sound healing and specifically in the gamma range or 40 hertz. And this actually represented a departure in our creative process I have with my partner Yuval Ron, because for about 13 years we were using music specifically for meditative states with brain waves, what's called brain entrainment, which is when you send a specific signal into the brain will start to cycle at that hertz, those beats per second. So right now, you and I, and hopefully our listeners, are in more or less in beta, which is our active consciousness and communication. And then we can drop down into alpha, a theta, and delta, with delta being the deepest, slowest brain waves where we have deep sleep. And then theta, we're in a deep meditative state. Alpha, we're in a meditative state, but we can be more active in that state with creative work. The gamma waves are actually above beta, excuse me, which is the fastest brain waves that we have. And that ranges from about a 30 to 120 hertz. That's beat per second, the cycling of the neurons in the brain. It was noted in research that people suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's had a lack of gamma, specifically 40 hertz activity in their brains. And then further research showed that if we can actually input 40 hertz with sound and light, interestingly, that remarkable benefits started to happen to the brain. And interestingly, just today I received a report from MIT, recent published a report that just came out in a journal today, which was they've seen actually the myelin sheaths of the neurons of the brain healing with exposure to 40 hertz sound and light. Now, this is interesting, especially because, gamma has been, again, from 30 to 120 beats. this very narrow, so you don't get the same effect at 41 or 39 hertz, which is beats per second. You see, the gradation is very, very small, but at 40 hertz, something very, very special is happening to the brain. So that's where we're really focusing now on brain health. We still have a lot of our meditation music, and we're going to introduce a sleep album. We have a little video we're going to show our audience. Um, but really, in the last few years, we've focused this is brand new research coming out
Yeah.
about the gamma, because gamma was
So
really ignored for many years.
yeah, this is really interesting. Yeah, let's play that little clip, and then we'll get back into it and get some more.
Soothing, relaxing, and calming music embedded with delta brainwaves pulsation for the deepest, dreamless sleep. These recordings provide profound relaxation and soul nourishment, plus the delta binaural beats brain entrainment that can slow down the brainwaves activity to the deepest sleep brain pulsation or vibrations. Celestial Deep Sleep. Soothing music with delta beats.
Okay, we're back. Actually, I started getting into a meditative state just there. I started going, wait, I better wake up here.
You know,
That was so nice. One
it
thing
makes
I just want to mention, uh, sound is the very first uh, uh, faculty that we develop. We actually, the fetus in the womb, the first what's the word I'm looking for?
sensory mechanism, we would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, it's sound. That's the
Yeah,
first thing that we can do. We can hear first of all,
yeah.
and then also I just want to mention, the ancient yogis who developed yoga and meditation. How they would use like Om, the sound of the universe, and how sound would help you to get into that deep state.
Yeah.
So
And,
is it?
and, and in my field of Chinese medicine, um, it's actually recorded in a written form in the ancient texts from 236 BC, the Neijing, that each of the main elements, the five elements, have a sound, have a key assigned to that. And they developed sound meditation to affect the organs and the meridians and all the other components that would go into that holistic system. The short video we just shared had two concepts I'd like to come back to, I think, which are really important. One was the binaural beats. And beats is a special brain entrainment technology where you put one frequency in one ear and one frequency in the other. You need headphones for this to get the binaural effect. And the brain actually modulates the difference between these two brain waves, these two frequencies, and creates a third frequency that at that moment exists only in the brain of the listener. And so we're able to, with our music, we tune our instruments like for 40 hertz, we're tuning our instruments to 40 hertz. But then we also use binaural beats, which you don't actively hear. So it's the difference. So you can use 20 hertz in one ear and 60 in the other, and the difference is 40. And so we're getting that 40 hertz in that way. So again, that's one of the strategies we use to create a deeper effect. Also in that short video, we made a distinction between WAV files and MP3 files. And this is very important because, especially with sound healing and the potential benefit of sound for health, in that most people are listening to music on streaming services, the Spotify's and the Pandoras or the Apple Music, which are a great way to hear music. But people need to know that the algorithms in MP3 strips out of music what the algorithm believes is not essential for the music itself. And this is sort of a parallel to that is what we see with nutrition and food in the West now, or really globally, where they strip out a lot of nutrition. It still tastes good, and you become obsessed with the food, but it's not the same dynamic of the food. It's not. It doesn't have a holistic range of the micronutrients and even some of the main nutrients. Still, can taste good, but it's not the same. Likewise with sound, You have a wave file, which is the equivalent of like a vinyl or a CD quality, and that has a lot of data in it compared to an MP3. So if you download a wave file, for instance, it might take some minutes rather than 10 seconds. But because the nature of the music that Yuval and I produce has a tremendous amount of data, and a lot of the sound healing or the medicinal components of our music is not necessarily tied to the musicality of the music. So it still sounds beautiful. But if you want to get the full therapeutic benefit of the music that we make available to people, we really recommend visiting our website and downloading the WAVE files. Unfortunately, there's maybe one or two small streaming services, one called Tidal, that offers WAVE files. But otherwise, most of us are just ingesting MP3s. So I can invite our audience. If you look above Rico's right ear there, you see a QR code. And this is a download of a WAV file that we offered. It's a gift for you. You really just want to shine your camera at that in Chrome, and then a link will open up for you automatically. And you can download a track there. And you also can you can see our website, Beta Mindfulness Music, if you do that.
Well, good. Thank you very much for that. So that's very interesting because, like on YouTube, they have all these sound healing ones you can listen to, but they're mostly MP3s, right?
Correct. Yeah,
And
correct.
even though they say it's binaural beats, you're not really getting the binaural beats, huh?
You probably can get to binaural beats, but there's a chance. I have not measured that per se off of YouTube, but some of the depth of the music is definitely going to be scarce in those files.
Well, I think
Yes,
what's also interesting is, sound healing. It's been around for a really long time, and was way before the science that you guys have been working with and know how to advance it. But and yet, just just with basic sounds that they used to use, they were able to get some good benefits. So
absolutely.
talk about some of the benefits that people have gotten even in the past without this advanced
Well,
music.
for one thing, it benefits the heart. Sound healing especially if you're using the deeper, slower vibrations, will definitely slow down the heart and lower blood pressure and increase blood flow throughout the body. It will help sleep. And sleep is an underappreciated longevity uh, tool, really, or technique or treatment. Again, I'm going to use the word magic. Something magical physiologically happens in our brains in sleep that I really want to encourage people to embrace, because a lot of us, especially in the modern go-getter world, people brag about, oh, I only get 4 hours of sleep. I don't need
Uh,
sleep, or they denigrate the benefits of naps, for instance. Naps are good for developing brains in babies. They're certainly very important. But what happens when we sleep, and again, we only know this because of functional MRIs, is when we go into deep sleep, the structure of our brain actually changes. And I'm going to use the word rivulets, little lymphatic drainage tubes open up. And this allows the metabolic ash, the byproduct of the dynamic activity of our brains, to drain out into the lymph system and then be discarded from the body. And this is essential because our brains are churning with energy. They need carbohydrates to do this. And every metabolic process has metabolic ash, metabolic byproducts. And if we can get rid of the accumulation of those in our brains are going to stay vital for much longer. And this really happens in sleep, in deep sustained sleep. And it's called glymphatics. It's the lymphatics and the glial cells. And the glial cells of our brains are the little sweepers. They're the janitorial service that comes out at night when we're dreaming
yeah.
and helps clean the brain. So sound healing is very, very good potentially for helping with sleep.
Yeah,
And
I want to talk a little bit more about that, and I just want to add. I think it wasn't on my TV show, but on one of my podcasts a while ago, where we had a sleep expert. And he said one of the big reasons why people have trouble getting to sleep or sleeping because they're still watching their the nightly news, or they're on their computers and all that, all the blue light. We know that too. But he says what happens is it's got you really high beta state, and your brain is all hyped up, and then you try to go to sleep because your brain takes a long time to shut down. So that's what he said. If you take some time to just be quiet or listen to some music that would get you out of that gamma state, out of the beta.
Your state, yeah.
Yeah, and it would not only would just help to relax your whole body, but it would put you in a state where you could get into a deep sleep right away.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, why we came up with the Celestial Sleep album that we just introduced is to help ameliorate the harm of the light that we're getting off of our screens all the time. They actually make available now like headbands with little flat speakers in them. So if you want to sleep on your side and you want to use sound healing to help you get to sleep, you can use this. And you just go on an Amazon and look for headphones for sleep, and you'll see a variety of things. Just look like headbands.
That's a really good tip. I'd like to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really specifically now with 40 hertz, we've seen that not only does it help the brain heal itself, but it's really good for focusing and studying. It's really like an aid for the students, and all of us are hopefully lifetime learners well into our older age. It helps with that. Sound healing, especially in groups, helps create a group dynamic. It creates like a social circle. And I'm sure that you've talked about this with your followers too, is one of the key things for healthy aging is feeling like you're connected. You're in some kind of community.
Yeah.
And so that's a really important thing. Sound healing between two individuals can enhance intimacy. If you tone together, it's very, very beneficial. Specifically, sound can help all the physiologic processes. And this is coming back to Chinese medicine. We know that the earth element, there's a particular tone or key that you can use, and that can help with digestion. Sound healing for the specific body parts too. So the potential is immense, and I think science. I love empirical evidence, but I also understand the importance of science. There's an international sound healing community. I attended a podcast or seminar the other day with Renee Fleming, the great opera singer, who's really into it. And there's an understanding that's growing, and hopefully it can interact with the medical system, where doctors can start prescribing sound healing rather than some of the medications they use for anxiety and for depression, because the potential's there with sound healing.
Yeah,
one of the other things about sound healing, I think, is really speaking as a clinician, which is really essential, is one of the biggest challenges of a medical practitioner, whether you do Western medicine or Chinese medicine or naturopathy, is encouraging and getting our patients to do the things we recommend.
Yeah.
And even something, compliance, we call that, even something as easy as taking a pill, compliance can be very, very poor. It's remarkable how poor compliance can be. What we found is if we can package or provide music that's beautiful, and you mentioned this in my introduction, which is to bring a high level of musicality, and all of our musical themes, our main themes are played by acoustic musicians, which creates a much different vibrational potential of the music. Again, music produced from a computer can sound just like an instrument, but when you put it on a scope to see the range of the vibrations of the music, computer-generated music compared to by playing a guitar, it'll sound the same, but the guitar, you're going to see this dynamic vibrational activity occurring. But if it's just coming from a computer, it's just more or less a flat line. And this
it's sort of like just going and hearing some live music or just listening to it on the
Yeah.
radio or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we found, and especially if we're thinking of music for healing and medicinal and curative purposes, that the more beautiful the music is, the more people are going to listen to it.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, and this is another thing about research, some of the research that's done with sound healing is when the participants in a study get to choose the music they want to listen to or can listen to rather than be assigned music, which happens usually in research. You're in group A, you take this or you do that. If people have a choice, and now specifically what we've done in our productions of 40 Hertz is provide music in a variety of styles. So we have ambient, new age type music. We have what we call soft jazz or soothing jazz, which on piano and guitar. We have world music. Some people love world music. They love sitars and they love tabla. You know, they love unusual instruments of world music. Some people they can't relate to that at all, so we leave that out. So we have that's why, and we have just solo piano in 40 hertz, beautifully done by a renowned Hollywood pianist. And we have the world's first choral piece done in 40 hertz, where Yuval and I went to, and we're in residence at BYU University in Utah, and the BYU singers, and coincidentally, there were 40 singers, where we recorded in a concert hall. 40, that's, again, it's the world's first 40 hertz choral piece, and it's beautiful. It's really, so people who love a cappella music. So we have a variety of choices, and we're going to continue with variety of choices
Yeah,
because
that sounds so good. Okay, when we come, I'm going to take a short 60-minute. I got a 60-minute important message for you, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more
60
about,
seconds.
Yeah, 60 seconds. Yeah, and we'll be right back in about 60 seconds here. Hello, I'm Rico Cavella, creator of the Ageless Living Lifestyle. If you are concerned about premature aging and you want to avoid disease and old age, and you want to live a more healthy, energetic, and vital long life, I have proven solutions for you. So number one, go to agelessliving.lifestyle.com and take our aging quiz to see how well you are doing. And number two, book your free coaching session with me to discuss your wellness challenges, and I promise to get you going on the right track. You can transform your health and your life, and I can help. Okay, we are back with Dr. Richard Gold. He's the creator of Meta Mindful Music. And you know, Richard, what I just thought of was you mentioned compliance. What can be easier to comply with than just listening to music?
Yes.
What a big advantage, huh?
I think, and it's important because you can use our music in a meditative session where you're sitting in lotus position or, you know, very still. You can also play it ambiently, you know, just while you're cooking.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think, like you mentioned, from infants, even before infancy, in utero, throughout life, sound has tremendous potential. And it's not talked about so much, but there is sound pollution. There's noise pollution that's which is detrimental to our health, happening all the time. And so I think some of us, especially in urban environments, having sound reduction or noise reduction headphones aren't a bad idea. Just to give yourself a respite so that our nervous system can relax. Another thing about sound healing I think is important is the potential for psychological health. More and more, again, with studying brain waves, people in deep emotional distress, or we can use the word psychosis, you know, but when things are not happening coherently emotionally, a lot of that is storms in the brain where the lobes of the brain are not functioning with integrity to each other. The movement of energy on the neurons of the brain is not smooth. Brain parts are not communicating with each other. And if we can integrate the brains, the research I mentioned earlier that was just published from MIT, they found that the 40 hertz gamma sound affects the corpus callosum in a beneficial way. And the corpus callosum is the part of the brain that connects the right and left hemispheres. So now, if you're getting integrating your hemispheres more, it's going to manifest as a much more integrated personality, and our capacities as human beings can be elevated.
Well, that's so good. We're almost out of time, so I really want to thank you for the work that you're doing and for this interview. It was really good. So what would you recommend? How should a person who hasn't done any sound work or healing at all, what do you recommend they get started with?
One thing we can do, or I could recommend, is our music is on all the streaming platforms. There's no way around, if you want your music to be heard, to not be listening to streaming platforms. Listen to our music on streaming platforms. Find our music on streaming platforms like Spotify and Pandora and Apple. You search under Yuval, Yuval, last name Ron, Ron. And
Very good. I'm sorry, we're just out of time. Thank you so much for being here,
okay.
and tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show.
Okay.